Good morning, everyone, and welcome once again to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. And it's great to be with you on this Labor Day Monday 2020. And Labor Day Monday means one thing. It means it's time to turn the calendar. We're into football season. Thursday night, we have a game. And tonight, I have a huge draft. And believe a lot of you who play fantasy football, you're getting ready to draft or you already have. I wish you had watched this show before you drafted. I got a few things to talk about this morning that are very important, a couple of positions. But I want to talk about, first of all, the overall theory of maximizing value. That's the key to success in your NFL draft. You know, I don't think typically you win a draft with your first or second round pick. You could lose a draft with your first or second round pick. But I don't think you typically win one with that. I think you win your draft when you get into the 8th through maybe the 13th or 14th rounds. And who you can pick there, you know, get that value. So I want to go through some players with you. The first segment today, after I give you a little intro, Tar Heel of the day, Eric Ebron, beat writer out of Pittsburgh, is saying that Eric Ebron, tight end now for the Steelers, is being used in every play all over the field. And because of how well Ebron has been playing, the Steelers, they elected to go with only 5 receivers on their team, which is usually you go with 6 or 7. They went with 5, and that's because of the role they feel Ebron will play in the Steelers' offense this year. And we all know tight end is a tough position. It's not very deep. Maybe 5 or 6, volume guys at that position. But Eric Ebron, the former Tar Heel, former Detroit Lion, former Indianapolis Colt, he is a player to watch later in your draft, talking about maximizing value. We just had a comment about CeeDee Lamb. I was in a draft last week, and it was an 18 league. Now, the draft I'm in tonight is a 14. That's right, 14-team league. And so every pick that I wanted scripted, I got. I've never done that in any draft. And my last pick in the draft was CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, slot receiver, gotten a lot of hype in the preseason. I think he's going to be a great talent. We'll see. Another comment in the room now is Big Ben is back healthy. That's true. We're going to talk about some Steeler receivers. I don't want to spend the whole show talking about the Steelers, but we'll talk about them some. Eric Ebron, the tight end. We're going to talk about their wide receivers. Deontay is a great option at wide receiver for the Steelers. Let's talk about quarterback values first, though, this morning. And there are 2 that I want to talk about from different perspectives. First, I want to talk about a rookie. And we don't usually look at rookies, early in drafts. But I think Joe Burrow, quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, in the draft this year, the Bengals do a couple of things. Yeah, they get Burrow number 1 overall, no doubt. That was their lottery, if you will, pick. But the Bengals also then invest a lot in offensive linemen to protect Burrow, to protect Joe Mixon. I think Mixon's going to be a great play this year in fantasy, coming out of the backfield, running the ball, coming out of the backfield, catching passes. I think he's going to be a dump down a lot for Burrow. But Burrow is going to be in a low-key, high-volume passing offense. Okay? Last season, head coach Zach Taylor for the Bengals had the Bengals playing fast and tossing the ball at will. Now, Cincinnati last year, same head coach this year, was 9th in plays per game and passing rate. So since 2016, only Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, and Dak Prescott have finished as top 12 quarterbacks in fantasy as rookies. Now, the reason I think Burrow falls in that, not only is he a really talented quarterback, but he's got a lot of players around him who are talented. I've already mentioned Joe Mixon. You got Gio Bernard, former Tar Heel. There you go. A.J. Green, John Ross, and Tyler Boyd. And here's a great mix and match for you. If you're drafting and you can match Joe Burrow and Tyler Boyd, that's a great tandem in fantasy for 2020. Another quarterback, I'm going to mention 4 here. And some of these you like, I don't know. But Carson Wentz. Now, I see the arrow pointing up for Carson Wentz. Last year, Wentz was a quarterback 10 in total points. And despite playing with basically a practice squad of players down the stretch, he was throwing the ball, hooking up for points. This season, the Eagles insulate the depth chart with speed. They've got Jalen Reagor, who I think is a great fantasy pick this year. John Hightower, Quez Watkins. They also traded for Marquise Goodwin during the draft. So now, when you add Jalen Reagor and the others to what Carson Wentz has to work with, Wentz now has some real weapons that aren't practice squad fodder. He played top 10 fantasy 2017. He was QB3 that year. We know he's had injuries. But he's not only got these new receivers, he's also got Zach Ertz, Miles Sanders, and Deshaun Jackson, who gets hurt a lot. At some point this year, Deshaun Jackson will get hurt, but the word out of Eagles camp is that Deshaun Jackson has beefed up and now ready to assume a major role in that Eagles offense. Carson Wentz, Joe Burrow. How about Teddy Bridgewater for the Carolina Panthers? Now remember, fantasy differs from reality. The Panthers have the 32nd ranked defense in the NFL. There are 32 teams in the NFL. So what that means is the Panthers, coming into the season, have the worst ranked defense in the entire NFL. They host the Raiders in week 1. I think the Raiders make mincemeat of the Panthers. Now he's reuniting with Joe Brady in Carolina. Joe Brady worked for the Saints in 2018, Teddy Bridgewater is. And the reason I mention their defense being so poor is I see the Panthers throwing the ball a lot more down the field. Now, we know the number 1 overall pick is going to probably be a Panther, but I see his role a little less this year. I think the Panthers throw the ball down the field to their wide receivers and tight ends more. Now, Bridgewater worked with Joe Brady in 2018 with the Saints. Brady worked with Bridgewater during part of his time in New Orleans and then helping guide LSU to an offensive juggernaut there. Brady will now try to wave a magic wand with the Panthers. But despite their, large percentage every game the Panthers are going to be behind. That's right. And Brady's system should really fit Bridgewater really well. Last year, Bridgewater's deep ball had been questioned, but his short area accuracy shouldn't be. So with the likes of DJ Moore, the likes of Christian McCaffrey, the number 1 pick in the draft in most drafts, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel, what I'm getting at is he's got some offensive weapons there other than just one named McCaffrey. And I think he's going to spread the ball around. They're going to be behind. And therefore, I think Teddy Bridgewater is a really good value pick at quarterback. There you go. Another one, and I'm going to do 5 quarterbacks this morning. Gardner Minshew for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, he's not a top 10 quarterback, okay? But he's a running quarterback. And he's got some pretty good receivers in Jacksonville. They added, Josh Oliver's healthy, Tyler Eifert's healthy, Laviska Shenault is explosive, and I think Shenault is a great late-round pick. They're going to be behind again. The Jags are not very good. They're going to have a losing record. They're going to throw the ball a lot. And in fantasy, that's what you want. You want quarterbacks who throw the ball a lot. You want two things. They throw the ball a lot and they score a lot of points. I'm not sure about the points, but I know he's going to throw the ball a lot. So there's 4 quarterbacks. And then I want to go to one more place. I want to go to Miami, if I can, for just a moment. And the reason I want to go to Miami is, we know that they draft Tua. And we know that Tua is probably going to be a late season, mid-season pickup or starting quarterback for the Fish. But until that happens, they've got Ryan Fitzpatrick, who over the last 4 years, when he has started games, 23 games, he has been a QB1 61% of the time. 61% of the time, he has been a QB1. I'm not saying he is a great season-long play, because I think Tua comes in around Thanksgiving, November 1st. But until then, look, the Dolphins aren't going to run the ball a lot. They're going to throw the ball down the field. He's going to throw some interceptions. But I think he is going to be a fantasy asset, a late round pick again. And that's what I'm looking for this morning, trying to maximize value. Now, let's talk about running back. Melvin Gordon, former Los Angeles Charger, now current Denver Bronco. He's going to be the workhorse in that Denver backfield. I think Philip Lindsay drops to second fiddle on the Denver Broncos. Gordon is a pass-catching, running back. He has a top 10 cap among all running backs in each of the last 2 seasons. Denver's new offensive coordinator, Pat Schumer, has finished top 6 in 7 of his last 11 years in touch share with running backs. Gordon did show down the stretch last year, there's reason to believe he still has gas in the tank. He started the season slowly for the Chargers after holding out. Remember, he held out. He had 2.5 yards per carry, 2.3 yards per target in weeks 5 through 8. But then, beginning in weeks 9 through 17, his yards per carry rose from 2.5 to 4.2, and his yards per target increased from 2.3 to 6.6. Still has a lot of talent. He was 6th in yards per touch and 3rd in yards created per touch in 2018. I look for Gordon to be a great fantasy player, great fantasy asset this year. Let's look at some questions you've got, and let's see here. So I got one person right in going to pick Bengals, Jags, and Dolphins heavy. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying these 3 players are value picks. And then the next question, should I throw in some Jets? And the answer is absolutely not. Let's look at David Johnson, if you will, running back for the Houston Texans. And, he fame, rose to glory in Arizona, then got hurt. He was the RB7 in PPR scoring in 2019. First 5 weeks of 2019, rather. Then he just looked washed up. He really did. He looked washed up. Over the first 5 weeks, he was averaging 4.1 yards per carry, 7.48 yards per target. And his 7.48 yards per target would have ranked him 12th over the entire season. But then he had a back strain in week 5, ankle sprain in week 6, and he was never the same the rest of the season. In fact, after week 6 last year, David Johnson never played more than 43% of the snaps in any remaining game. But now, this year,